Hello, everybody. I don't know, am I live? I think so. Welcome to Tell Your Story. I think this is the sixth week I'm doing this. This is crazy. It's going by so fast. This year's already going by fast. I can't believe we're almost halfway through February. It's almost March. I can't wait for spring, though. So I'm still surrounded by snow over here in Rhode Island, but hopefully it'll be getting better out soon. And today I'm wearing my brand new cap, Rich Thinker. I'm a rich thinker. I'm going to be having a story in the Rich Thinking anthology that's coming out October 2nd. And this is a nice surprise that I got from Mitzi Campbell or Davey. They're the ones putting this on. We go to a Rich Thinking conference in Philadelphia, which will be October 2nd when the book is coming out. So that was a pleasant surprise. I had another package coming open the door, and there was a nice box with a Rich Thinking box, and I opened it up. It was this cap, so I was not expecting that. So pretty cool. Get to show it off. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. My topic is going to be about resilience, and how that leads to abundance. So I'll be working some stuff out there. But for tonight, I'm going to be continuing my journey as a road runner. I'm almost there. I'm almost at the finish line. So let's do this. All right. And then for today's topic, I decided to talk about how to reintroduce yourself to yourself. Especially us Gen Xers, when we were younger, we were taught to, go to school, get a good job, and you stay with that for your career. And that might not necessarily be in alignment, and you can decide at a young age of what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And so then we put ourselves in a box, and then we have trouble getting ourselves out. So a lot of us are kind of awakening to that, and we're leaning towards what brings us joy, what we were meant to do in life. And especially for me specifically, I always loved storytelling. I could read when I was 4 years old. I was reading books. And when I was 10 years old, I wrote my first short story. It was called The Killer. DCYF probably would have taken me away back then, but but that was around the time I had never seen horror movies or anything, but it was probably just my imagination from seeing commercials, because it was around that time when like Halloween had come out, and Friday the 13th, The Fog, all these horror movies, and you see all the commercials for them. So I used my imagination. And then I would write. I had a spiral notebook, and I'd write stories in them, and my friends would be characters in it, so it was fun. But then for some reason, I kind of fell away from it by the time I was in high school. And then when I was in high school, another thing I began doing, well, you probably know this by now, but I ran cross country in high school, and I eventually became the captain. And then after I graduated, then I kind of like fell away from running. I was in the Navy. I would go running sometimes, especially if I felt like I was gaining weight, then I would, run for maintenance, but I never stuck with it. And then eventually I just faded away from that. And then life comes along. I got out of the Navy, and went to college, and then I started working my full-time job, and this year is actually going to be 30 years that I've been at this job, and it's as a computer programmer, which is the opposite of my writing. I always loved writing and history, but I went with like the math and science thing because I work for a medical software company. So it was not in alignment for me. And even when I was in school, I really enjoyed the English and history classes, and I struggled with the computer classes. So you would think I would listen to myself, but no. And then in 2010, that's when I started my Return to the 80s blog. I just couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted the pull to writing started taking hold. It was like I had a pilot lit inside this whole time. And then I just ignited it when I found discovered blogging. And then the more I wrote, the more the fire was building up, and yeah, I just couldn't contain it anymore. And then around this time, I also went back to the gym. Well, I went to the gym. I had never really gone to the gym before. And after a year, I got a personal trainer, Adriana, and she asked me my history. I told her I ran cross country in high school as the captain. And so then she had me running again. It was in October, and she wanted me to run the downtown Jingle 5K in December. And so I did that. And when I did that race, just the environment just lit me up. It was totally different than running, competitively in high school. It was just like a party. And then in the meantime, I discovered that other races, they raise money for charity. So I really love that. And I love to travel. So that's how Journey of the Roadrunner came. I wanted to run a race in all 50 states and write about it, add my writing to it, and bring attention to each charity. So I'm slowly gaining everything back that I was losing, and then I got my master's degree in creative writing. And I went back in 2019, and I got my degree in 2022. And now here we are. I'm writing my story now. I'd like to get into some fiction. I love doing that too, but I really want to get my story out there and hopefully inspire other people to show that it's not too late to discover yourself and rediscover your passions and do what you're meant to do in life. So that's my story. And I'm sure a lot of us have similar story where, we had passions when we were younger, and then, life gets in the way, you have other priorities, and then you just lose it. But it's time to get that back. And if you're on here, that may very well include writing, and you probably have a story to tell. You've been through a lot, so it'd be good to share, and other people can relate and can help other people. So here we are, and I have chats on, but I don't think anybody's here. I'm seeing 0 eyeballs, but that's all right. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing this anyway. Eventually, people will come. If not, that's okay, because then I'm making time for myself to write. So, with that, I'll begin, and I'll set what we're going to do is we're going to write for 20 minutes. I'll put a timer up, and then we'll take a little break after that. Maybe I'll read some trivia, do a 80s and 90s trivia question, and then we'll do one more 20-minute sprint, and then we'll call it a night. All right, so here we go. Good luck, everybody, and I'll set the timer now. All right, everybody, welcome back. If anybody's here, how'd you do? I did all right. I'm writing about the Tunnel to Towers race. This is kind of a long chapter, so I'm at the part where I'm on the way to the corral to get to the start line. So that's quite an adventure in itself. But I think I'll be able to, in the second part of this, I might actually be able to finish the actual race part. And then it's like one of the most fun post race parties I've ever been to. So that's going to be fun to write about. And then that'll be it for this chapter. And then I'll do a conclusion. And then the first draft of Journey the Roadrunner is done. So if you're out there, if you want to say how you did, what you're working on, go ahead and say it in the chats. In the meantime, let's do some trivia. This one will be 80s trivia, and I need my glasses. All right. I guess we could do another book one. What 1981 film was based on a book written by Joan Crawford's daughter? So, and that's all right. I'm sure a lot of people know that it's Mommy Dearest. So, Mommy Dearest was based on a book written by Joan Crawford's daughter. So, that's pretty freaky movie. So, that was a tough one, but all right. Let's see if nobody has anything they want to say yet. We're going to get ready to head into our second sprint, and then we're going to call it a night. We'll wrap up and call it a night after that. So if you're here joining me, I thank you so much. I'm going to keep doing these every week, every Thursday. The only exception will be on March 5th. I'm going to be in New York City. Craig Siegel's hosting an event called Genesis. So I'm going to be going there and, meeting some awesome people in person in New York. So that's going to be a blast. All right, we can get going for the next 20 minutes, and I'll set the timer now, and I'll see you on the flip side. And time is up. That went by fast. Well, I didn't get as far as I thought I would, but still making progress little by little. This is like this. I swear, writing this book is like a marathon, man. If anybody's out there, how'd you do? What are you working on? Yep. So I'm still lining up for the race. I actually looked on Google Maps to refresh my memory of where I went, how I got to the start line, because that was a trek. But almost there. All right. And also this week, I should point out that I posted a new podcast episode of Gen X Journeys, and that was a blast. We were talking about Huey Lewis in the news. So Suzanne Mataboni and Del Railing, who are my co-hosts of the Gen X book club, they came on this time for the Gen X Journeys podcast, and then Claire Young and Caroline Conley joined us, and they're a lot of fun. They were regulars on our Return to the 80s podcast. Yeah, they're definitely a favorite of everybody. So we had a blast doing that episode. So that episode is up now on YouTube, and the audio version is up on everywhere you get podcasts. So it's just look up Gen X Journeys. And he'll be having more awesome interviews coming up, so stay tuned to that. So please like and subscribe. And I hope if anybody was on this live stream that you got some writing done. And I wish you the best of luck in your journey. And then we'll be back next week. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.